the Job Scam Report. Once again, this is Mark Anthony Dice, and of course, just called Mark. And should you want to know and read more about job scams and keep updated, just follow this channel you're watching on. For the most part, I update at markanthonydyson.substack.com. Feel free to give a comment, leave some ways you've been scammed or you've been victimized. Maybe some ways came across your channels and in front of you and on your timelines. And maybe even through your texts and emails too. Of course, they're everywhere and we're all just trying to avoid them, combat them. There's no slowing them down. That's not going to happen here in the next few years because as technology is grown and is changing at a pace, look forward to making those changes as you go along here. And so I thought I'd go through TikTok. There's some creators gave me ideas. You can go to markanthonydyson.substack.com and look for the latest article accompanies the podcast, or it's in your podcast directory, where the link will go out to the creator. I hope to remember everybody, but I'm going to go through 5 of them. In the article, I probably listed more. So you'll probably want to not only listen to the podcast, but go into the article. And I'll cover some of the other ones in a future podcast episode and video podcast episode. These are job scam reminders will make you safe or make you safer, depending upon how you look at it. Let's go through with these. Now, in using AI, especially ChatGPT, there was a creator that said he had got a scam. It looked like a scam, but he went and put message in ChatGPT and he asked, give me reasons why this text is a scam. And apparently gave him 50 reasons why it was a scam. So I thought it was kind of surprising too. I haven't tried it for myself yet, but I wouldn't doubt at all. ChatGPT would be very helpful for you to define what's a scam and what it sounds like. Now, on the outset, you may not necessarily have to do all, because really to me, and I've discussed this before in other episodes and other videos, and have said on other platforms as well, one red flag should be enough for you and for anybody else to disengage, to block and report. Now, I know a lot of people don't feel the necessary need, don't feel it's necessary to report everyone. You can make decision, but the more reporters block, the more intel for everyone, including ChatGPT, to make a decision on why they should disengage once they see a red flag, because recruiters, hiring managers in the past are pretty careful about the way they approach. And there are laws associated in their approach. So just to get a text message out of nowhere without the reason or without a prompt for the person receiving it having opted into something. Now, it is tricky in some sense because a lot of people do mass apply to hundreds of jobs. They don't read the disclosures. So therefore, they don't see there's an opt-in, or should you agree to apply, you're applying to all these things, including receiving something from third-party partners, et cetera. And it's a danger zone. Really, who needs the front part when, especially with 9 pages, people want to get the application and they want to be able to get on to the next thing. And our hope in the future, it could be simplified. Do you want this? If you want this, you're going to get other communication from us. Opt out. A lot of people get the yes or no. It's really not an option, and it really isn't, especially when the company is making it very hard for you to make a decision, especially on the front end, or it could be even the back end in some of these applications or where you apply. Shout out to creator. I believe his name is Rasta. I'll have to check and I'll put in the show notes. Like I said, I have to go back and check and I won't be able to mention everybody's name. The second one was a reminder after reading several texts. When someone asks for your last 4 numbers of your social security number, you should run. In any scenario up front, especially if there isn't a commitment and a process for you to be an employee. You only give to somebody going to hire you, not somebody just vetting you or giving you the access to the danger point. And a lot of people do, and it doesn't lead to anywhere. And I think most people who do apply to a lot of jobs know part, but a lot of people who don't apply always, which for a lot of reasons, there are people who have been in the job market for a number of years now. They're able to subvert filling out part of the application or ignoring part, or just not filling out the application or filling out requests at all. Avoid requests at all costs, especially at the beginning. Only after you've given and they've have your trust, you give information, but hardly ever, if never, on the very front end. So I'd be looking at it. Scams, and this kind of reminder, scams aren't just virtual. There's elaborate scams. If you remember, there's a movie called The Sting, where they created this scam, and it was a big production number. And they dressed up the halls, and they dressed up people, and people involved. People had these roles to fool people into gambling to give them money. And in the movie, I don't want to go into the plot because it is more than 50 years old. But the point is, those still exist. Now, back in the early days, a few years ago, when people were using Zoom a lot more often, scammers were using real footage of people working in the background of them talking to somebody live. You don't see too much anymore. And if you have recently, let me know, put it in the comments, but they will use live footage in the back of doing this Zoom call. And now these days, they just use more text. But you should always want to vet them very closely. And a company, especially if they're out of the way, you never heard of them, hopefully you can do the thorough research to prove they're real or not. If there's ever any doubt at all, I wouldn't side on the side of, let's see where this goes. You need definitive answers these days, and you'll need to look at how you're going to operate in a way. Your footing is a lot more sure to speak people are real. These days, the best way to tell somebody's real is to meet them in person and to have in-person interviews. And a lot of companies are they're cutting out the virtual, especially when they need to figure out how they're going to vet virtual employees in this day of fake employees. Now, there's the talk of facial recognition and what role it's going to play and how accurate it's going to be. A lot of us use it on our phones as it is, so it's not like we're unfamiliar with it. But having said this, job seekers, you will need to have a much more stricter standard, or at least to the par of what the company is again. And you want to be careful. You're not giving away your information for free, or better yet, you're not getting a return in the sense of you're getting a job for the information they have and the transactions you do. But there's a lot of fake businesses out there. There are some real businesses, they register lawfully, but they have scammy behavior. You should watch out for those too. Those could be just as bad. So I'm imploring you to make a lookout, and something you practically hear from me every week, but something that's going to be important for you to go for. I'm happy to share and happy to see a lot of people are actually, they're avoiding jobs and they're combating job scams a lot better than they have. But you're going to have to take a step further if you've confronted one, even if you didn't fall for it. If you've opened a clip, if you've gone to the website they said for you to go to, you're going to need to run computer malware, spyware suite. Now, you can get caught in crosshairs of it actually tracking your movements, tracking your passwords, getting your access to your financial situation and your accounts. They shouldn't have, a lot of them shouldn't be using those apps on desktops anyway. But if you do, you got to make sure you're not. And really, I shouldn't even say, because phones are just as vulnerable to the malware and spyware as the desktops are. But most people do use the desktops. They tend to use their desktops to do the bigger transactions and to do a lot of the work. And you got to keep in mind, if you let a scammer in, whatever appears on your screen, whether it could be work products or proprietary information or financial information, they're going to be able to see it, and they're going to be able to view your passwords. Now, you're going to need to do the next step as soon as you've been confronted by one, and if you visited some of the places they want you to visit, and you pressed one of their links, you're going to need to run security suite. So that's something you'll need to be aware of here going forward. And don't forget, a lot of people forgot, and I think they may be disappointed later on when you find out, the scammers had layered attacks. They don't just have one way. It's not that you get me fired. They want your personal information, so they're going to do whatever they can to get it. And having malware spyware installed on the phone and on your computer is the other ways. They can get the other thing, hacking your behavior, taking advantage of your emotional state, and or if you're in a place of desperation, even more vulnerable. The fifth one, let's talk about it, and let's be plain about it. There isn't a perfect job. And I know some of us are looking for the perfect job. It doesn't exist. And there might be a perfect job for you if you have high standards. It's like somebody romantically involved. They may not be the perfect person. They might be the perfect person for you. And as somebody who's been married for decades, it's not a matter of whether everybody else will see them perfectly. How do you see them really matters. But if we don't have a standard, of course, there could be a lot of people who can appear and look good. They can sound good, and they can make these promises or alluring, but can get you crossed up in the hairs of their traps. And it could really ruin your life if you should follow job description giving you all these promises. The first response isn't what to believe, is why would I believe this? And you go and check this out, and you go verify information through research and through vetting and one of the passes. Don't be afraid to ask other people. But I think these are things I see across my timeline. They are great reminders. I thought it'd be great for you. And for some of us, we need the very basics of job scam, ways to combat job scams and avoid them. Because some of what applied last year also applies this year. At the same time, they're getting more advanced. AI is becoming much more apparent, and it's becoming much more harder. These AI made up videos, these deep fake videos people are using for interviews and job scammers, it looks real. And there's new software now, Google's have come out. When you use it with other AI tools, it could seem very real. And it can make you feel like it'll have you questioning yourself. And I just want you to be extra careful. I hope to have more discussion about how we can fight the deepfake videos, but it's two-ended. You're not just fighting as a job seeker. Companies are fighting it to prevent hiring fake employees. So you'll have to keep those things in mind when you're looking at video, and especially when you're interviewing or when you come across something that looks real. It's good to question it first. Even if it seems, unless you know somebody, they're very upfront with you, and you know them to create this kind of information, this kind of content, you've got to be ready to combat it on the side of doubt first until they prove themselves to be real. So that's it as far as the job scam report to podcast for today. Reminders, and I gave you 5 reminders. Job scam reminders. I gave you 5 job scam reminders will make you safe. 5, get ready, be prepared, be strategically safe is what I try to promote and try to help you to be as strategic and to be careful and strategic as much as you possibly can. This job search is tricky out there. You can look for Mark Anthony Dyson on YouTube and TikTok. I'm there giving daily updates, so go check those out if you need some additional help. I'm covering a wide spectrum of related topics regarding job search and job scams there as well. In the meantime,